Right, welcome to Sports Week. There's plenty of league football to be talking about this weekend, but there's also the small massa of the AFCON tournament getting underway this weekend. Host Morocco get us started on Sunday against Comoros. Tolu, we're going to talk about the tournament as a whole in a moment, but let's just drill down into this opening fixture. Is this going to be a homecoming party for the hosts, or will Comoros be the party poopers? What do you reckon?
Comoros are not going to be party poopers, I can assure you. They're not a bad team, to be honest. I think on face value, you probably look at Comoros and think, do they play football there? Yes, they do. It's the second appearance at the AFCON. They made their first appearance just at the previous edition, and they got to the round of 16. So that tells you that they're not a bad team. They've got a couple of players who play the football in France, in first division, and some in the lower leagues, but they've got a pretty decent team, to be honest. But Morocco are probably the best team on the African continent, plus their hosts. And so they're not the team you want to play on the opening day at home at an AFCON, but unfortunately, that's what Comoros will be doing. Ashraf Hakimi, it's a big news from there. Remember, he picked up an injury in the UEFA Champions League and everyone thought he'd missed the AFCON. Well, surprise, surprise, he was pictured training with the Moroccan team just a few days ago. So he also made the final list, so he should be fit enough. I think you look at that Morocco team and they got quality down through the line. Wahida Regragui, the manager, also fresh. But the problem I have with this Morocco team is not Comoros. I think we'll talk about it more when we talk about the tournament proper. I don't think they'll have problems with teams like Comoros. Maybe the weight of expectation as the tournament goes on may be a little too much for them. They've shown that it can be bottlers on the African continent. So I hope that they are not at this tournament. But I think on the opening day, I don't think there'll be problems for them. I feel like they'll keep a clean sheet. So I'd probably go Morocco to win to nil. And I could even go one better and go a -2 handicap.
So it sounds like a routine win for Morocco to get things underway, but let's look at who's going to be lifting that trophy in a few weeks' time. You mentioned Morocco being the host. The weight of expectation could crush them. They are favourites if you look at the betting markets at the moment. You then also got the likes of Egypt, who are in the running. Is this going to be dominance from the North African part of the continent, or can you see a victor coming from elsewhere?
Look, that the AFCON has been very, very surprising lately. In the past, you always felt that when the AFCON comes to West Africa, a West African country will win it because of the conditions. It's usually very hot. And then you look at when it goes to the north, you expect that North African countries will do well. I think when Egypt hosted it, Senegal won the tournament, so that didn't particularly go true to type. And lately, especially with the Moroccans, who everyone outside of Africa feel are the best team on the African continent, the AFCON doesn't particularly work that way. Despite how good Morocco have been over the last decade, they've only won one AFCON. I think it was in the 70s. So that tells you just how competitive the AFCON can be. And this Moroccan team, I watched them last year, fresh after winning, after getting to the semi-finals of the FIFA World Cup. Everyone thought they'd come to the AFCON and boss everyone. They got knocked out in the quarterfinals by South Africa. So it's not particularly the most straightforward tournament. And you look at the list of teams that could be winners. You've got the Super Eagles of Nigeria, who obviously have a talent pool, but they just always do not get it right. Close to tournaments, there's always one big scandal or the other. And people forget that Senegal are a more experienced team now. They're probably a team in transition. The likes of Kalidou Koulibaly, Sadio Mane, all play their football in Saudi Arabia now. But it doesn't take from the fact that they are one of the traditional big boys in the African game. There's also Ivory Coast, the defending champions. No one thought they'd win last year. They're missing a couple of players from that tournament this time, but they're still a very dangerous team to play. There's Cameroon also. We don't know who the manager will be heading into this AFCON. They've got two managers at the moment, two different lists for the AFCON. That's a different story for a different day. And then there's Egypt with Mohamed Salah, who, after dominating in the early 90s and 2000s, they've seemed to go off the boil in recent AFCONs. And then you don't forget the likes of Algeria. They're still there also. Haven't won an AFCON in a while, but they've always been one of the teams to beat. And for some reason, everyone's not been looking at them that much at this AFCON. I just feel like it's going to be one AFCON again that I think I'll say it here. I do not think Morocco will win. I feel like they always seem to choke under the pressure, especially when they're favorites. And I think that's going to happen again. I probably will tilt towards one of the West African teams. And most importantly, if I was going to pick a North African team to win, I'd probably go Algeria. They went through their World Cup qualifying group in imperious form, and nobody really took notice of them. And they've flown under the radar a bit. And I think that could be very, very key at this AFCON. Morocco are obviously the favorites, but this is my opinion. I feel they always choke when you expect them to do the most. I think at the World Cup, nobody really looked at them at the World Cup and they played really well. They have a good team, don't forget. Ashraf Hakimi is in there. The Sunderland man, Chemsin Taibi, also will be at the AFCON. Brahim Diaz from Real Madrid. There's Azim Nai, who was very wonderful at the World Cup, plays for Girona in Spain now. And of course, they've still got some very, very decent players. Probably got the best squad going into the AFCON. But I just have that sneaky feeling that they're going to choke.
Well, it sounds like a fascinating few weeks are on the horizon, but we've hit the end of this week. So I just need to say thanks to Tolu, thanks for your insight as always, and I look forward to chatting to you next time.
Thank you very much, Dan.